Stick around because in this video I'm going to talk about how to join the United States Army as well as some of the requirements that go along with that. What's up friends, I am US Army veteran Christopher Chaos, and I realize I have several videos on talking about different topics in the Army from MOSs and organization and rank and everything, but I don't really have anything to tell you how you would go about joining the Army and some of the requirements that are involved with that. So that's what we're gonna do in this video. So please note that it's always best to just talk to an Army recruiter when you're thinking about joining the Army, but hopefully this video will kind of guide you in the right direction and, you know, maybe think of some questions that maybe you might have to be able to talk to that person and also kind of guide you in the right path towards joining the Army if that's what you're looking to do. So not everything is the same back when I joined in 1999. Some things have changed here and there, so a lot of the reference material that I'm using to tell you about joining the Army really just come from Army's website, goarmy.com. So that can always be a good stop for you if you really want to join the Army and looking for a little bit more details, is stop by the website, check it out, see if maybe you can find something that you're looking for and some more information other than what I'm about to tell you. But let's get started and let's break down just some of the basic understanding of what it takes to join the United States Army. So first up, let's talk about age requirements. So ideally you need to be 18 years old to join the United States Army, but you can join at the age of 17. If you want to join at the age of 17, you have to get parents' consent, and typically you have to have completed all your training by the time your 18th birthday comes around. That means you have to be done with basic training, you have to be done with your job-specific training as well before your 18th birthday. Hey, correction on that, I don't know why I said it like that, but you have to turn 18 before you go to your first unit. That means during your training at some point, your 18th birthday has to come along so that by the time you are done with training, you're already 18. Hope that kind of clears it up. Sorry for being confusing in the video there. Let's get back to the video. At some point, you're gonna be required to take a physical. So if you have any kind of, back injuries, leg injuries, something that could prevent you from being able to run or lift heavy weight or anything like that, you're probably gonna be excluded from being able to join the Army. So you should be in fairly good physical condition. Now, along with that, there's also gonna be height and weight standards. I can't list all of them, but I will leave a link down below to a chart that kind of talks about some of the height weight standards, but as a general kind of understanding, I will break down a little bit of that. I saw a comment that asked how tall you need to be to join the United States Army. Well, there's a different requirement for both men and women. For men, you have to be at least 60 inches or 5 feet tall. For women, you have to be at least 4'8" or above. Now, there is also a max height, which I've seen a website that says that max height is 6'6", but I've seen some people in the Army that are pretty tall and probably pushing close to 7 foot tall. So there may be some waivers and some flexibility in that. I don't know if there's some flexibility in if you're really short, but it's always best, like I said, to talk to a recruiter and kind of find out. Now with that, there's also gonna be some weight standards. I've actually heard of people who weigh too little to be able to join the Army, and they've told them they had to put on some weight before they can join. So for example, a male that is 6 foot tall has to at least weigh 140 pounds. And that is also the same weight standard for a minimum for a female if she is 6 foot tall. I'll leave a link also down below to this chart that tells you the minimums. If you are someone who is worried about meeting the minimum standard, just check out the link that's down below. If you're someone who's worried about the maximum, well, that's a different chart. I'm not gonna go over all that because there's some different kind of things that kind of go together with that. So I'll leave a link down below for the height and weight standards for the US Army that'll also cover max weight for your height and age. So the next requirement you're gonna wanna meet is that you are a US citizen. Now you can get away with joining the Army if you hold a green card, and then I believe that there's a process that they have you go through towards getting your US citizenship once you get in the Army, but you're gonna need to at a minimum have a green card for the US or be a US citizen. Next requirement is going to be that you have a high school diploma. Now you can join the Army with a GED, but that is going to limit on some of the jobs that you can and can't do in the Army. So it's usually best to have a high school diploma, but you can get away with having a GED. It's just going to restrict some of the jobs that you are allowed to do in the Army. Now before entering the Army, you're gonna have to undergo a background check. Now there are some jobs in the Army that require you to have a clearance, so having a really good clean record will allow you to achieve that, while other jobs may not require you to have a clearance, but does require you to have a fairly clean background as far as criminal and stuff, and certain crimes will exclude you completely. So it is important to disclose stuff to your recruiter, even stuff from the juvenile past, because they're gonna look into it. And if you try lying about it, they're just gonna find it anyways, and now you just wasted time attempting to join the Army, and then they're gonna find this criminal history and just, exclude you from being able to join in the first place. Things that can exclude you from joining the Army, but be aware it's still always best to talk to a recruiter because they may have some kind of loophole or some kind of waivers that they can work with you on. But As general information directly from the U.S. Army website, here are some of the things that could exclude you from being able to join when talking about your criminal history. Those are going to be things like a felony conviction. Drug charges and domestic violence charges can also exclude you from being able to join the Army. Now, there are some cases with small drug charges that sometimes they can work with you and do some waivers on that. And in fact, I even talked about in a recent video how the Army is actually being more lenient on people who've used marijuana in the past and offering waivers. So if you want to check out that video that I talked about that topic, check out down in the description as well. Even if you had some crimes you committed as a juvenile, some of those can still affect your ability to join the Army. It's why it's important to disclose that stuff to the recruiter to make sure if you can join or can't join due to whatever that crime was that you committed. Especially if the job you want to do requires a security clearance, they're going to do a really extensive background check on you to be able to get that security clearance. Another requirement that you're going to have to do is you're going to need to take the Asvab test. Now, the Asvab test is multiple choice and evaluates you on 10 different skills. This test will be used to determine what jobs you can qualify for to try to apply to do in the Army. Now, typically they usually offer this test while you're in high school, and you can take that test and probably get out of some classes like I did back in '99. I just kind of goofed around, took the test, just got out of class, and didn't really care too much, but that also kind of excluded me from doing certain jobs. So it's always best just to try your hardest to do a good job on the Asvab test. But if you're already out of high school and you didn't take the Asvab test, or you did really bad on the Asvab test, you can always take it usually at a recruiting office. You can talk to a recruiter about taking the Asvab test and see what kind of score you can get so that you can try to qualify for the job that you want to do in the Army. That would really be your next step, is to do some research and figure out what it is you want to do in the Army, and is the Army really the best branch to do that job? For example, when I joined the Army, I was originally thinking about joining the Air Force, but I wanted to be a mechanic, and I figured that the Army would really be the best place to go to get a lot of experience with wheeled vehicles. So that's one of the things you have to evaluate, is to figure out, is the Army really the best place to do what I want to do? Now, obviously, if you want to fly airplanes, fly jets, then the Air Force or the Navy might be a better choice for you, because the Army doesn't really have any airplanes, they just have helicopters. So that's why it's best to evaluate the branches and what it is you want to do and determine, is the Army really the best branch to do that job? So do some research, look stuff up online about that particular job. If you can, try to talk to people who are in the military or were in the military about that job. So it's always a good idea to talk to recruiters as well about enlistment bonuses, because certain jobs sometimes will offer bonuses, and that can always be a nice little kickback. Maybe it's a job that you may be interested in, or something that could really help you out by joining that particular job and get a little bit of a kickback from joining. So there's just some general information about joining the U.S. Army if you are interested in doing such a thing. But like I said, it's always best just to talk to an Army recruiter to fulfill some of the main questions you may have. But I hope this kind of guides you in the right direction and kind of gets you thinking at least a little bit. The next step after you join is going to be basic training, and I'm going to be working on a video that gives you a breakdown week by week of basic training and what to kind of expect in general if you were going to basic training. So if you like this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. If you want to check out some of my other videos, you can check out some of these suggested ones over here, or you can also just subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on anything that I'm creating coming up, such as that basic training video. I'm Christopher Chaos, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. See ya.